Welcome to AWS Marketplace Seller Conference 2023. I'm Brian Westbrook at GeekWire Studios, joined now by Dan Flood. Dan, you are with the head, you're the Vice President of Sales for the Digital Solutions Group. First of all, tell us about AHEAD and how it fits in with AWS Marketplace.
Well, good. Well, thanks for having me. We certainly appreciate this forum that AWS provides all of us as partners. But briefly telling you a little bit about AHEAD, we're a $3 billion consultancy and systems integrator headquartered in Chicago, focused on the enterprise market. And I run our Digital Solutions Group, as you said, and that's everything cloud, modern applications, and data related inside of AHEAD.
So talk to us, I know we're going to get to some announcements in a little bit, but how did you first discover AWS Marketplace and what was your first interactions like? What do you remember in the early days?
Yeah, so we recently signed a strategic collaboration agreement, which was a huge partnership that we formally committed. We commit to AWS, they commit back to us, and Marketplace is a huge part of that value add. With our systems integrator business and our resell business, we have access to many of the ISV partners, and we had traditional routes to market that we would resell through other channel functions. And so the Marketplace is really how we've modernized that go-to-market where customers want to do business today.
What was selling AWS Marketplace within AHEAD like? What did that look like?
So it's a change. It's a new way for our sales force. So we're not all the way there yet, being fully transparent. We have 20 years of relationships and routes to market where end user essentially cuts a purchase order to AHEAD and we cut a purchase order to another partner. Marketplace wasn't really involved. Over the last 2 years, as we've really solidified and committed to AWS as a partner, we were forced to consider Marketplace because, as always, customers led the demand. And with the proliferation of enterprise discount programs and large formal commits that customers were making to AWS, essentially customers in procurement would ask us to work through Marketplace to be able to draw down on those large commits that they were making.
And one of the great things, to be able to streamline the operations, to be able to streamline the onboarding, to be able to streamline the deal making, and I think you've discovered that. Any specific examples you want to mention of how Marketplace has really helped you secure that customer and maybe even do more business with them?
Yeah, absolutely. So we always say, for us to win a deal or for us to be successful with our customers, we really have to win three people. We have to win IT, and we have to convince them that we're the right partner with value-added services, and we have to get the operational technical win. We also have to win our relationship with whatever OEM partner it is. If it's an ISV partner, if it's AWS team, they have to know and like and trust AHEAD and want to work with us. But lastly, and we've seen the proliferation of procurement, so we now have to have a tangible value prop back to procurement to give them a win. And that's what Marketplace has really, really done, is we now formally sell to procurement about being easier to do business with, allowing them to hit their goals and measurements, because once we get the technical win, once we get the operational win, once we have the OEM on our side, we always end up with procurement to make sure that that they're doing the deal in a way that suits the client. And so that's really been the learnings for us is Marketplace represents a big value proposition for procurement, and we have to have all three of those wins to be successful.
I really like how you talked about procurement and how Marketplace kind of makes it easy for you to check that third pillar, to check that third box, to kind of help bring them on board in addition to both the IT and the OEM solutions. Fascinating. What have been some of the things you've heard from one of these three groups that maybe needs a little improvement, opportunities?
Brian, I'm going to answer your question out of order.
Okay.
Because I'm going to tell you a story, because you had said any specific example.
Yeah.
We had an example with one of our large pharmaceutical companies headquartered in the greater Midwest, where the IT team was getting ready to renew their VMware licensing.
Yeah.
And the IT team didn't have the formal budget in their standard fiscal year budgeting process. Our team working with them, it was essentially a 10-to-1. So they were under budget by 10x. We went to them and said, hey, we might have a way for you to buy $10 million of software when you've only budgeted for $1 million, and that would be if we run this transaction through Marketplace and allow procurement to draw down your EDP commit. The customer looked at us and said, we can do that, And we said, absolutely, and we have a team of experts we built to facilitate that transaction. We then collectively, with VMware, IT, and Ahead, approached the customer and said, what if we can run this transaction here? Miraculously, the budget went up by 10x, and they said, we got $10 million. You can absolutely get all the software licensing you need. And I used to talk about, in the old world, we had to get the win-win-win. Right. Customer win, us the partner, and whoever our software partner was we were working with. This was the first ever win-win-win-win because AWS won, the customer won, Ahead won, and VMware won. And some of the metrics that AWS has published in their study, we realized there because the deal, the total contract value of the transaction was 10x what it would have been. And we got the deal done 90 days earlier because we didn't have to go through an elongated budgeting cycle. It was immediately fast lane to the CFO, looked and said, it allows me to hit my commit with AWS, approved.
Yeah, and if you're watching this thinking, how do I get involved with AWS Marketplace? There's a great example right there. Last question, we talked about opportunities. I want to kind of boil that into opportunities and what are you looking forward to?
So I think one of the opportunities they talked about today, we've also experienced in real time. So a big theme from Ruba is now that we've got marketplace adoption, we have to automate it. And so I experienced the automation real time about 3 weeks ago. So when you're on our side of the table, our ISV partners have weekly, quarterly, monthly deadlines. I got a frantic text message from one of our data partners saying, hey, we've got a problem. It was 7 o'clock at night in the Midwest. We've got a problem. We haven't seen a PO yet. We think you guys have booked to the wrong account number. So I send a text and make a phone call to my marketplace team. I instantaneously get a screenshot of an automated deal notification that came from AWS to my team. I cut and pasted that notification, sent it to the VP of sales and said the deal booked 30 minutes ago. He sent back all the accolades. You guys are great. Love working with you guys. Thank you for getting it done. But it was all powered by the automation of AWS automatically sending us that deal notification. And that feature function, didn't exist 6 months ago.
And it's great to have tools like that, automation, certainly additional things coming down the line. We look forward to talking to you next year at Seller Conference to find out what you've done with this at Ahead. I'm talking to Dan Flood, Vice President of Sales Digital Solutions Group, and I'm Brian Westbrook, GeekWire Studios. Thanks for watching.